What if your greatest legacy started on dirt fields, in borrowed shoes? Would the world still remember your name? Just Fontaine was born not in Paris, but in Marrakesh, Morocco, a place where balls were leather-wrapped dreams and barefoot boys chased glory under a scorching sun. He didn't come from wealth. He didn't train in elite academies. He trained on crack streets, where football was survival. At 17, he played for USM Casablanca, scoring 62 goals in just 48 matches. Let that sink in. This wasn't some TikTok-era prodigy. This was pure grit, pure instinct. Do you think greatness needs big money, big lights? Comment hard over hype if you know it doesn't, because Fontaine didn't. You know Messi. You know Pelé. You know Ronaldo. But do you know the man who scored 13 goals in a single World Cup? 13. Not over 3 tournaments. Not over a career. In 6 matches. His name? Just Fontaine. Never heard of him? That's exactly why this story matters. Because legends aren't always loud. Sometimes they start quietly, far from cameras, far from scouts, far from the spotlight. Born in 1933, in Marrakesh, Morocco, Just Fontaine didn't grow up with fame in mind. He grew up with football in one hand and defiance in the other. This was a kid who didn't own fancy boots, didn't train on pristine grass. He played barefoot on cracked concrete, chasing a ball that had been patched more times than anyone could count. So tell me, do you believe greatness needs a stage? Or does it grow anywhere the fire burns hot enough? If you believe that greatness comes from hunger, not privilege, drop a fire in the comments right now. Let's light this story up the way it deserves. Just Fontaine's first club wasn't some football powerhouse. It was USM Casablanca, a team you probably never heard of. He scored 62 goals in 48 matches there. That's not just talent. That's instinct. That's the kind of hunger you can't teach. Let me ask you again. What do you do when nobody believes in your path? When you're born far from the spotlight? When no one's watching? Do you fold? Or do you make sure they hear you from anywhere? Comment "Watch me" if you've ever been underestimated. This story, it's for you. Because Fontaine didn't wait for the world to notice. He made sure it couldn't ignore him. And what happened next? Well, that's the part where football history bends forever. So hit subscribe because Section 2, The Rise in Reims, is where this unknown becomes undeniable. And trust me, you won't want to miss it. Just want to play. He had to. Section 2, The Rise in Reims. So let's rewind the clock. It's 1953. A 20-year-old Moroccan-born striker arrives in France, stepping into a new life, a new league, and a new identity. His name? Just Fontaine. Now let me ask you, have you ever walked into a room where nobody knows your name and then made them all remember it? Because that's exactly what Fontaine was about to do. First stop, OGC Nice. He scored 42 goals in 69 appearances. Not bad for a kid from Casablanca, right? But here's the twist. This wasn't his final form. That came in 1956, when Fontaine signed with a club that was quietly building something dangerous. Stade de Reims. This wasn't just a team, it was a fact. Let me say this again louder. Some players get remembered for what he did. Score. Goals. Relentlessly. His first season at Reims, 30 goals. Just like that. But this is where it gets interesting. Fontaine wasn't a flashy dribbler. He didn't dance past defenders. He didn't do it for the cameras. He did it for the net. He moved like a ghost. He found the seams no one else saw. And by the time defenders realized he was there, the ball was already behind them. Let me hit you with a question. Would you rather be famous or feared? Fontaine? He chose fear. And if you're watching this right now thinking hard work doesn't get noticed, drop a soccer ball in the comments. Because this man didn't go viral. He went vital to every team he touched. Now here's the part where it gets cinematic. Fontaine gets the call. Not for club, for country. But there's a catch. He's not the first choice striker. He's not even supposed to start. He's plan B. What would you do if the biggest moment of your life came, only because someone else got injured? Would you freeze? Or would you explode? Fontaine didn't hesitate. And what happened next changed football forever. Stick around, because in Section 3, we're diving into the tournament that defined legends, the 1958 World Cup. 6 games, 13 goals. You read that right. So before we go any further, hit subscribe and answer this in the comments. Do you think anyone will ever break his World Cup goal record in a single tournament? Yes or no? We'll find out. In the next chapter of Just Fontaine, let me hit you with a number, 15. Now ask yourself this. What's the first thing that comes to mind? Friday the 13th? A jersey number? An unlucky omen? Let me give you a new definition. 13 is a number of goals one man, Just Fontaine, scored in a single FIFA World to find its identity. Their star striker, Thaddeus Sosowski, gets injured just before the tournament. So Fontaine, the backup, gets the nod. Now pause for a second. Have you ever been someone's second choice, and when opportunity knocks, are you ready? Or do you wait for permission to be great? Because France loses 3-2. But Fontaine isn't just scoring. He's warning the world. Game 3, France versus Scotland. 2 more goals. France wins 2-1. And now the whispers begin. Who is this guy? Where did he come from? Is this luck or something deeper? Let's be clear. This isn't just a hot streak. This is something rarer. This is destiny on fire. Quarterfinals. France versus Northern Ireland. 2 more goals. France crushes them 4-0. By now, the world is watching. Commentators are scrambling to pronounce his name. Defenders are trying to study his movements. But you know what made Fontaine lethal? He didn't have a signature move. No flashy footwork. No signature flair. He just scored. Right foot, left foot, inside the box, outside the box, it didn't matter. He was a finisher in the purest, deadliest sense of the word. Let me ask you this. What's more dangerous? A player with one great move, or a player who's unpredictable every single time? Fontaine didn't give defenders something to prepare for. He gave them nightmares. Semifinals. France versus Brazil. Yes, Pelé gets a hat trick. And for a moment, Fontaine's fire meets something bigger than himself. But you know what true greatness is? It's showing up even after you again next time. Fontaine, he shows up for the 3rd place match against West Germany, like at the final. Close Mbappe? All incredible. But they didn't do what Fontaine did. And here's the haunting part. He never played in another World Cup again. So let me ask you, if you had... He didn't need a second act. In 6 games, he became eternal. Drop a 13 in the comments if you think that record will never be broken. And if you believe it can, tell me who you think could do it. Now here's something even crazier. Just a decade of dominance ahead of him. But life doesn't follow the script. But before we get there, do me a favor, thing falls apart. That's the cruel irony of Just Fontaine. 1 minute. He's rewriting history on football's grandest stage. The next, a single injury changes everything. Let me ask you something. Have you ever been on the brink, only to have fate pull the rug out from under you? Fontaine was electric, sharp, unstoppable. He scored 30 goals in 21 games for France, an insane 1.43 goals per match average, a national hero, a record menace. At 25, the world was his oyster. Then came 1960, a seemingly ordinary league game, a tackle, a misstep, the crack of potential, broken leg on both sides of the bone, 2 breaks, 1 injury. Essentially 2 careers ended in 1 moment. No gridiron tackle, no multi-season slump, just a twist, a spike, a moment, painful, instant. Now I want you to feel this. Imagine training for years, building muscle memory, making sacrifices, chasing dreams. Then 2 breaks. I need you to ask yourself, how do you respond when everything you've built collapses? Because Fontaine faced that question head-on. He lived through weeks of hospital stays, months in casts, rehab, limbs that refused to listen, expectations that kept screaming. Do you break or do you rebuild? Fontaine chose to rebuild, but not in cleats. In life, let me do the math for you. From dusty streets to world-class goals. From France's hero to hospital-bound. It happened fast, in just a few heartbeats. But that's just half the story. Because what this man did next, it wasn't about fame. It was about legacy. Would you know how to redefine success if your first dream was ripped away? Fontaine did. He became one of France's first player agents, pushing for players' rights. He coached PSG, Morocco, and helped shape modern football. He didn't need the spotlight to prove he mattered. Let me ask you, what's more powerful, a legacy built on goals or one built on impact? If you believe it's the impact, comment impact instinct. Because Fontaine proved, on the sideline, in the boardroom, in unions, he could still make waves. And here's the truth. He never got over that injury. His speed never returned. His body never complied. He never played for France again. But he didn't fade. Instead, he found new purpose, new roles, new ways to fight for the sport he loved. Did fame slip away? Sure. But respect? Unmistakable. Let me tell you what else you need to know. Many players dream of greatness. Few plan for the fall. Fewer ever choose to rise again. That's the measure of a true legend. By his late 20s, Fontaine had been baptized in glory and crucified by injury. Yet, he stood upright. Now, let me ask you, will you let one fall define your story? Or will you find the grit to fight back and keep going? Comment still standing. If you believe the toughest battles are the ones you don't quit. In our next section, we'll explore Fontaine's rebirth, not as a player, but as a mentor, coach, pioneer, as a man whose influence spread far beyond a stadium line. So before we go on, do this. Backhand index pointing right, hit subscribe if you're ready to discover what it looks like when true passion reinvents itself. Thanks for staying with me. We're almost at the end, but the best part? It's yet to come. Section 5, the game. Let me leave you with this. His 13 World Cup goals still stand. Not Messi, not Mbappe, not Ronaldo, only Fontaine. No VAR, no super cleats, no goal line tech. Just pure, instinctive, unstoppable football. So why is he forgotten? Because history is loud, and Fontaine was silent. But you can change that. Backhand index pointing right, like this video. Backhand index pointing right, share it with someone who loves football. Backhand index pointing right, comment Fontaine Lives if you believe his name deserves to echo forever. And hit subscribe for more stories of the legends time tried to erase. Just Fontaine may have been buried in the back pages of history. But today, we bring him back to front. The game remembers. And now, so do we. Studio microphone, you just heard the untold story of Just Fontaine. Thanks for watching.